It's going to be a great night tonight.
We're going to bite a kneecap off.
2-1-2.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Filthy Football Casuals podcast. I am your co-host, Carl. We got Tom in the house, as always. No John this week, unfortunately, but in his stead, we got Packers fan Jesse and Bills fan Dave. Welcome, everybody. What's going on?
I feel great. I don't know about Jesse and Dave, but I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, we got quite the representation this week. Green Bay, Buffalo, yeah, some tough weeks. But I don't know. Did you at least make something of the rest of the other games this weekend? I know, tough week of divisional round for everybody.
I mean, I thought all the games this week were actually kind of a lot of fun. I believe all of them were tied or near tied at the half.
Yeah, definitely a lot of close scores. It felt like.
Yeah, I mean it was an exciting weekend of football.
Yeah. Dave, how you feeling about your Bills?
Oh, Dave's mic.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's a little robotic. I'm not sure if that's something you've seen before or not. In the meantime, Jesse, your Packers. Tragic. Just before we get into the game, though, just like the season in general, I'm just curious. Like, how do you feel?
Well, that's why I feel the way I feel about this game, because I am not sad. We put up a hell of a fight this weekend. This season was supposed to be a rebuild year, so to say. You know, Jordan Love, got to find out if he's the guy. I think we found out he's a guy. And it was just, supposed to be something that everybody expected us not to compete for the playoffs, to kind of just be a losing record team and kind of mosey on by. But we put some good fight at the end of the season there. I'm very happy with the results. Youngest team in the NFL, and we got playoff experience. What more could you ask for?
Honestly, yeah, pretty good point. The Love roller coaster, just from my perspective, was amusing. Just how high the expectations were early on and how quickly they plummeted. And I feel like they clawed back, though, by the end of the year.
I mean, it was something that, like, the season started, and I didn't know what to expect from him or from the team. I expected Aaron Jones a lot, and obviously he was hurt for the majority of the season. But it was saw some good signs from Love out of the gate, and then it kind of fell off. Didn't know what was happening there in the middle of the season, but then it seemed like either Love found a new stride or LaFleur. I credit a lot to LaFleur's play calling. He got a lot more aggressive on offense, and I think that made a big difference in what our offense was capable of doing. And they gave Aaron Jones the ball at the end of the season. Big
fantasy players, myself included, weren't too happy about how that started, but they can get it figured out in time for Green Bay to make a run. I'm sure that counts.
Yeah, I think it's only up from here. That's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, and I'd probably have to agree with that. Dave, we could try you again, maybe. Now that we talked Green Bay and how that season is probably pretty good.
Yeah.
How you feeling about Buffalo and how this one wrapped up? Oh, I don't know if we can hear you now.
I mean, I don't think.
Oh, sorry.
Technical difficulties.
Great podcast.
If you go, you can go without camera, Dave, and see if that helps at all.
Oh, if it's wireless, yeah.
There now.
You're coming
Hey,
through.
a little better.
heard you there.
Yeah. We can try with that.
Hey, there we go. Great podcasting here.
Yeah, we got
I don't
post.
feel great about the. I mean, it was a good game overall. I think clawing back from the depths of almost being eliminated to get into the second seed was exciting. But obviously, how it ended, I think there's a lot of questions up in the air right now in Buffalo. Now it's not as doom and gloom as like the chat boards and some of the commentators would give you.
You want to fire the entire
um,
city, put them in the lake?
No, I mean I think job number one was done, and that Tyler Bass didn't end up in a body bagger at the bottom of the lake somewhere.
Jeez.
In the pit.
or in the pit. But no, I mean it's this team has some growing pains. It's been 6 years of growing pains, it seems like, but I mean it went from halfway at the season, nobody expected them to do anything, to then right at the end there, they're odds-on conference favorites almost. You still have the Ravens in the way, so I'm not terribly disappointed with how it ended, but like I said, there's definitely some room for improvement.
How do you feel about McDermott and his job and how he's been doing? You said it sounds like the job's been done.
If if John were here, I feel like it would be the very similar conversation Steelers of where's the standard at right now? Where's the standard in Buffalo? Is it? I'm pretty sure still on the entranceway into the Bills front office, playoff caliber. Is that where we want to be? Is just playoff caliber, or do we really want to improve for?
Sure, that's how many wildcard and divisional exits in a row.
To the playoffs,
Yeah, that's not this team anymore.
So,
I feel like they got to be able to take that next step, and it's just been 11 months to
because
build up. And
ultimately you're going to end up in a situation like Phillip Rivers and in the Chargers, where you have a great quarterback and you just can't do anything with it.
Got to be frustrating. Yeah. How do you feel about the next season's prospects? I saw some tweets that the window's closed and cap and blah blah blah. I always take those with a grain of salt, but I was wondering if you might know what it's looking like.
Well, I know that the Bills are staring at some pretty cap issues. We're sitting on some dead space, and there's some potential big players possibly leaving. You're looking at Gabe Davis. He's going to be a free agent. His contract is up. So, there's the potential that we've definitely seen the last of the Jordan Poyer-Micah Hyde relationship. Huge for the defense. Although, if you want to be fair, Micah Hyde only played, half the season, and Jordan Poyer had to exist without him. So he might have gotten a taste. I think the Bills have some serious questions in terms of what to do with some personnel. Looking at some potential trades, or definitely needing to restructure some people. A certain 6-year, $120 million contract isn't looking as favorable as it was last year. Especially, like I said before, there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. In terms of personnel, the Bills definitely have a lot of the right pieces in place. I agree. I think the window's closed on some really potential huge years coming forward, because we're going to lose some vital pieces, in my opinion. You look at Gabe Davis. There are definitely some teams around the league that could use a deep threat. There are definitely some teams in the division that could use Kansas City was the one in my book that I was really thinking that be a good fit for Gabe Davis. Fortunately,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, just from my view from the Bills as a season, it's clear that you've got what I would consider defensive depth, right? Because the defense continued to perform throughout the year despite felt like a new injury every week. And, I'm sure there's some credit to be given to McDermott in that regard, but so maybe not quite time to panic on the defense, but there's definitely some aging and contract issued players on the offense that you got to consider.
Yeah,
I think job number one was. Oh, go ahead, guys.
Hey, Jesse, go ahead.
I was just looking at the over the cap page here and looking at some contracts that the Bills have. I mean, they're $50 million over the cap right now, but there's obvious restructure with Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs. Kind of are almost in that position, though, forced to restructure Von Miller because pre-June 1st is you're actually going to lose money against the cap. Now, post-June 1st, you'll save a little bit, but there's some names out there that are cut candidates for this team, like Tre'Davious White, Rasul Douglas. I don't think they would cut Taron Johnson, but his numbers are up there too. Like, there's that defense has a lot of people that are questionable with this cap situation if they'd be coming back in it.
Yeah, I was just kind of going to echo that really from my casual perspective. Like, busy offseason, just kind of like some question marks on offense. Like, what are they going to do there? And then defense, it's kind of, between those players you mentioned, just the health, like, unfortunate for sure. But it's almost like you start looking in other directions, like how many of these repeat injuries are going to keep killing you. It's tough. It's got to be tough. It doesn't look super fun.
If there is one thing to be about the Bills, they have a really decent front office and Brandon Beane, and he's able to find creative solutions to cap problems and to player contracts. So some quick 1-year deals here and there to bring in some veterans, a little bit of leadership on the defensive side, because you're going to be losing, like I said, you're losing Micah Hyde. He's going to be, that's a pretty solid bedrock of that defense. The biggest thing the Bills need is they need linebacker strength, and they need it bad. We got down to the problem at the last game there where we could only dress four linebackers, and
Right.
2 of them were straight up from the practice squad. So they need linebackers bad.
Seems kind of evident once Kansas City got rolling too, running the ball in that game, and I don't know, it just sucks. Like, there's nothing else to say. It's just when players get hurt and the backups aren't good enough, and what are you going to do? Speaking of GMs in front office, Raiders got a GM.
Ooh,
Tom Telesco.
that's a name.
He came from the Chargers. That's my entire update. I don't know anything about him yet. We'll dig into that as the weeks come on. Jesse, your cap expertise is appreciated for sure. That's just always thinking like, oh, save it. Because there were some games played last weekend. Maybe we can get into that too.
Yeah.
That Texans-Ravens game, I don't know. I missed kind of that first half. Have you guys caught any of that or had any thoughts? Or
I caught the second half mostly. I was just following the score for the first half, but I mean, kind of went how I expected overall. The Ravens did come out a little flat in the first half, which I definitely didn't expect, but they turned into the Ravens we know them to be in the second half. I think Lamar had 100 rushing and 200 passing or something like that, which has basically been what he's been doing all season.
Yeah, it was another one of those like 10-10 at the half or something like it.
Yeah.
And then 34-10 was the final. So, yeah, they came out killing it.
Yeah, I didn't get to see much of that game myself, but Ravens are looking scary. That's for sure. So, see if they can beat the Chiefs. Kind of hope they do, but it's another team that has found life in this postseason. So,
yeah, I feel like it's a fun run for Stroud and D'Amico Ryans down there. Kind of a lot of young blood, and I guess, what's the age compared to the Packers? I wonder. You said they're the youngest. I feel like the Texans got to be close.
Yeah.
Yeah, they got to be
half a year. I wonder, but just a fun little story there. But like you said, Tom, kind of rooting for the Ravens. I wonder who's really, apart from Chiefs fans, like who's rooting for the Chiefs in that matchup?
Swifties.
Yeah, it's the Swifties, and yeah, that's probably about it. Yeah, a lot of one-sided rooting interest. I would think anyway. I don't know.
It's it tends to get kind of like that as you get down to these final few teams because there's usually that one juggernaut of a team that's always there. I mean, it's been the Patriots forever, and now the Chiefs have kind of taken that spot. I think this is their sixth AFC Championship game in a row, so it's like
5 or 6. Yeah.
Big eye roll. All right, here we go again. Like,
yeah. Yeah, and especially, well, I guess the Chiefs are getting ahead of ourselves. So never mind. I will wait.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, the Ravens Texans game. I mean, good on the Texans. That's another like similar to the Packers, just overachieving like into the playoffs, getting a playoff win even. Which is just hugely promising. Like, there's nothing you can't be anything but proud of what the Texans did. Rookie head coach, rookie QB, just coming in and I think that's only happened like twice before that a rookie head coach and QB has like made like a decent run into the playoffs. First one that
I think it was the first time, or maybe the first time they won a wild card or something.
I don't know because Rex Ryan made it to the championship game with Rex Ryan and Mark Sanchez were one of the ones that happened with.
Oh, well.
I would assume they would have had to win a wild card to get there. I don't think they won the division that year, but definitely didn't get the 1 or 2 seed. I don't think, but I could be wrong. But yeah, that's Texans are going to be a fun team to watch over the years. They've got some studs on defense, and D'Amico Ryans is proved to be an excellent head coach so far. So I hope he keeps it up. I'm rooting for him.
Yeah, fair enough. And honestly, I don't have a ton to add to that. Jesse or Dave, if you guys do or don't. But if not, I think there's the big one.
Yeah, I echo the D'Amico Ryans. I love seeing that story. Talk about age of teams. Actually, the Houston Texans. I found this article of the playoff team. They're the second oldest of all of the playoff teams. I don't know who on the roster makes them old, but
defense. I know they got Perryman on defense. That's
dragging the numbers up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, all it takes is a few guys over the age of 33 to mess your numbers up a bit.
I guess it's such a young game. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's another team with a bright future. I hope good things for the Texans. I'd like to see it.
Yeah, it's like no bad will, no one's sick of them. New coaches, clean slate, fantastic story. Yeah, I welcome it for sure.
It's nice to have somebody in that division that we can be certain is good, right? Is that?
No, I'm absolutely not certain that they're good. It's I don't know. Like they kicked the crap out of the Browns. Yeah, it was fun. I don't know. It's been a weird season. I don't know. I don't know what's real anymore.
Nothing is real.
Mm-hmm. I guess what was real was that San Fran Green Bay game.
Ooh, boy, what a game!
You guys been waiting to get into that. Jesse, should we let you hear your thoughts first, or maybe should we get to Tom since he hasn't talked to any San Fran yet?
I mean, we can kind of joint venture on it. I took some notes on some of the things that I saw throughout the game.
Let's hear it.
And Jesse, you feel free to chime in if I get any of it wrong, which I probably will. Big thing about that game, of course, the weather was way worse than advertised even. We knew it was going to rain, but coming up, it felt like they were talking, oh, it's just kind of going to be a sprinkle. It's not a whole lot of rain. And you watch it on TV, and when you can see the rain, it's like, oh, it's raining. It's coming in. And, that certainly caused some struggles in the pass game for Purdy and Love, too. Just so many balls just kind of airmailed, just definitely didn't come out right or hitting the dirt before, on short passes that just like, man, that was rough. So I mean that's something to keep in mind as we go through the game, but it definitely played a bigger factor. My big thing is what I was annoyed about with watching the Niners was we didn't lean on the run game. We have one of the best rush offenses, I think the best rush offense in the league against a bottom-ranked rush defense, and in the rain, and we asked Purdy to pass 39 times. And CMC had 17 rush attempts.
Did they hand it off? No one else was really in there besides CMC, right?
Nope, only CMC, and he was averaging 5.8 yards per carry, so it was working really well.
That's kind of good, yeah.
in the tight game in the rain, like it was just baffling to me that we kept going to the air when it was clear that Purdy was struggling to throw in the rain for basically the whole game. So I'm not crazy about that decision making to do that, especially when you have the best running back in the NFL right now.
Sure. Yeah.
It's just absolutely wild. And when we did run, we had so many runs to the right side. It felt like we were just overthinking ourselves, and it just like you have Trent Williams, just run behind him every time. They can't stop, which is crazy coming from like a Shanahan game, because I just think to the Packers game a few years ago when that's all we did was run because it was working so well. So it was so bizarre to see us just get away from that more than I think we should have.
Yeah, I will say I think one of the first things Carl Tom said here when we were watching the game together was, "Wow, they ran right with McCaffrey," and that I definitely agree with that. I was expecting a lot of McCaffrey, and he looked good.
Yeah, he looked fresh.
Yeah, it was baffling that they weren't running the ball, and Purdy came out with the glove on. That wasn't working. He took it off. He just never looked comfortable, and that also brings up the point that I think I don't want to say it was the biggest difference between the teams, because I think it still would have been a close game, but the Packers' opportunities that we had that we threw away started with Purdy throwing the ball. We had 2 dropped interceptions that we should have had. One of them could have been a pick six.
Could have,
so,
yeah.
That's even something that should have let the Niners lean on the run more.
Yeah, and even better is, you mentioned the pick six. The Packers were playing too high shell, like almost exclusively all game. They were running like a too high or maybe even a cover 4. Like they were defending the deep passes and even the intermediary passes all game. Which to me, if you're going to play too deep, I'm just going to run the ball, right?
Yeah.
You're not stacking the box. It's insane to me. Like that, and props to the Packers for just realizing that Shanahan was just going to keep passing anyways. Like maybe there's some tendencies that they notice that's like, Shanahan doesn't care. He's not going to run the ball as much as he should. Like,
or is that just like old buddies' mind games? Like, I know what you're gonna do. I know what you know.
It's so goofy to me, and like that almost pick six. Like watching that particular play, like I know that play. I've seen the Niners run that play all season with huge success. It's just a deep in-breaking route from Brandon Ayuk, and it's a timing play. Brock Purdy hits the back of his drop and fires it down the hash, and Ayuk is always there. And the Packers were ready for it. They were in that too high shell, so you should never throw that ball in that shell. And the Packers just were ready, and they just stepped right in front of it. And yeah, that he could have housed it, or at least gotten excellent field position off of that. So we definitely got bailed out on that. So that's some of my biggest complaints. Purdy, partly to blame in that is that because he kept trying to go for those deep shots. Even he saw the too high like shells that they were playing all game too, and he kept trying to force them for 3/4 of the game basically, until the fourth quarter when he realized, and he said this in the post game. He's like, "Yeah, I was trying to make plays, and I realized I should probably just start taking what Packers defense has given us, which was everything underneath was wide open, and so that's largely where Purdy started throwing it in the back half of that game, and we started moving the ball with some effectiveness." What else I got here? On the flip side of that, before I get into that, just want to shout out Purdy for getting that game-winning drive. Thank you, Joe Barry, for getting that monkey off his back. That's all the critics have put against him, that he doesn't have one of those, as if the Raiders game from last year never happened. But on the defense, the Niners struggled mightily against the run, which I've said few weeks back actually, because I was doing some research into the Niners run defense, and it's not all that great. It's like that's how you beat the Niners is you just come out and you just keep running the ball. If you can keep them from getting way ahead in points, you could run the ball and control that game all the way through. And the Packers kind of had that plan. They took some shots too downfield, but I think the plan was to run the ball and control the clock. And Aaron Jones was getting crazy yards. He averaged 6 yards per carry on the day.
Yeah, I mean, Jones running the ball was huge for us. Almost these last few weeks, it seemed like he was back to peak Aaron Jones form. That everybody was like, "Oh, he's going to be one of the best running backs in the NFL," and then he never really got there because injuries, usage, whatever it may be. But yeah, it seemed like, and I think that's part of the Packers. What our identity might become is like run the ball with Aaron Jones, that forces the other team to come up to the line, and then loves taking these deep shots. He's playing aggressive, throwing the ball down the field. It worked out well. It just he tried to be Brett Favre on the last play of the game there, and didn't work for Brett. It ain't working for Love either.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm shocked we didn't get any sacks, but the pressure was coming hard all game. Like that pocket was getting demolished and forced a lot of bad throws from Love. So I guess that's something. You know, he had a lot of throws off his back foot that were just not pretty. But I suppose better than taking a sack ultimately.
Yeah, that's I mean, it's something really to attest our offensive line to as well. Is both those playoff games we did not take a sack.
That's huge.
That's crazy.
Huge.
Yeah,
and it's a young offensive line. Minus, I mean, he wasn't in there, but David Bakhtiari is the only real, like, true veteran on that line. Everyone else is 2 to 3 years in the league. So that I think that bodes well for our future and maybe for some cap space next year too. So, you know, never know. But not that I wouldn't want David Bakhtiari back, but he's got a $40 million cap hit next year.
Cool.
So.
Yikes. For a lineman? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
He's up there too, right? You say he's what, 30?
33, I think.
Wow.
33 or 32, somewhere around there.
Some decisions to be made for sure.
But that was most of my observations from the game. It was a tough one, man. I knew the Packers would come in swinging and because they had absolutely nothing to lose, and you know, I was worried, and rightfully so, that we'd have a little rust to knock off after, you know, a lot of starters having effectively 3 weeks off. So that was tough, but I mean, hey, it's another classic in the books, and I expect we'll see this matchup again throughout the years to come because both teams are, you know, at least with a young QB and fairly young roster for the Niners. Even it'll be a fun matchup.
Yeah, I mean, nice thing about the Niners is still have Brock Purdy on that rookie deal, last pick of the draft rookie deal.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows how long it's gonna last?
At least 2 more years.
At least 2 more years. But once he's able to renegotiate, I imagine he's gonna be asking for something. But you know, Love is on a player or team friendly deal right now, but I have a feeling that's going to change this offseason because he's going into the last year of his contract and is due to make, I think, like $16 million next year, which is based off what we saw this year.
Not a lot of money.
Not a lot.
Yeah, for a lot of players, yeah. Yeah, just as a neutral, I really enjoyed that game, like back and forth. Exciting, more than I expected for sure. I don't know if Green Bay deserves a 3rd good quarterback in a row. This is kind of bullshit. But here we are. That's reality.
Hey, player development.
Who knew? Yeah, draft you guys and develop them. Minor leagues? No, we're not going there.
We got a few more weeks before those kick up.
Yeah. That's like April. We got months now.
Oh, man.
That kills me. I'm sad about that. I'm not sad about the rest of these playoff games, though. Bucks Lions, get into that? Get you into that Sunday?
Yeah, that's another fun one.
Yeah. Unexpectedly, too. I was not a huge believer in Tampa Bay. But they weren't ready to roll over. They're kind of, especially on defense, too. Like, Detroit's kind of a buzzsaw. And I don't know. Like, they opened it up in the second half, but that first was close.
That Bucks defense. I mean, it shows why they made the playoffs. Like that's what carried them through these couple playoff games. Um, I think they've still that's where most of their talent was left from. When Brady was there is on the defense. I mean, you got Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, but that defense really helped them these last couple of games. So maybe that's something they can still build on with future there.
He was Antoine Winfield, first team All Pro, I believe, safety. So
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a lot of nice pieces. Excuse me. And on offense, I I gotta love what the Bucks are doing on offense because they're just like, we got Mike Evans, we're just gonna keep throwing it up to him until he scores, and that was effectively their whole strategy. And if it wasn't him, it was Kate Otten underneath, and it kind of worked. It seems like maybe they took a while to figure that out as an identity, but when you got a guy like Mike Evans, why not? And sadly, I think his contract is up this offseason, so it'll be curious to see what happens.
Yeah.
I kind of would like to see him just be a Buck forever. It'd feel weird to see him in another uniform, but I wouldn't blame him if he went somewhere else to try to chase another ring.
I mean, I hope he stays there because Mike Evans is a Buck, always will be a Buck.
Yeah.
But yeah, his contract is up, and it's actually his partner there, Chris Godwin, has the highest contract on the Bucks. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was another. I don't know. Watching that game, I guess my notes, my thoughts. I feel like there's a lot of little things that kind of tip the game, like a lot of tip balls that Detroit was managed to come down with on defense. Ugly things on Tampa, and kind of the flip side, like they had pick six just completely dropped. Like defense had chances at plays and just couldn't hang on to it, couldn't make it. And I feel like that was kind of the difference in that game. It was just the inability and maybe a little foreshadowing getting to Buffalo. But yes, kind of like. Both teams felt pretty equal, which was surprising to me. I feel like Detroit's kind of been this juggernaut, but it was back and forth, and yeah, it was a close one at the end for sure.
Yeah, I mean in playoffs, especially the higher you go, like those are the difference makers, right? Like those dropped interceptions, dropped passes, like those small little things that, in the regular season you can overcome and get through, but playing at this level now, like they make a huge difference and can swing a whole game.
Yeah, that's kind of in my mind. Is the regular season you can get away with that or get it back in another drive or something. But yeah, playoffs, top 8 teams. We're down to top 4. And this is it. So you gotta make it all count. 60 minutes, fourth quarter. You've got all the cliches up in here. But I think that leaves us one more. The big sad one, for me anyway. Chiefs beating Buffalo at home for the first time in front of fans. It was painful. I'm sad. But yeah, kind of like we talked about already, like the Bills window may be closing and the next season's going to be tough. But yeah, just unfortunate way to wrap it up. And like Dave was saying, went from buying shit on sale at Wegmans because nobody believed in that team anymore and thought everything was done, in November to going on that run. I don't know. It's weird. It's bittersweet. But what do you guys think of the Chiefs and the Bills?
Yeah, it was sad. I mean, living in upstate New York, you root for the Bills. The Packers were out of it, so hey, go Bills. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. But I will be the contrary to what everyone says. I don't think the Bills window is closing. I think that team has proven that they can draft well, and I think that means that they're going to have sustained success. But they got to find a way to get over that hump. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I mean, Casey's strategy going in, it looked like just run the ball, which, Casey's actually pretty good at running the ball. They just don't do it a lot. And here, they realize they're like, oh, well, the Bills can't stop it at all, so we're just going to keep doing it.
I heard some noise. I heard a lot of people saying Casey's O-line was not any good, but the way Buffalo's playing defense, they wouldn't have you know that, so I'm not really sure what to make of that evaluation. Yeah, them, and then obviously like Kelsey, everybody knows he's good, but Rice I feel like has really been coming on the last few weeks too, which is not what Kansas City needs. Perhaps even not the most dependable or super reliable, but better than Tony, better what they had going on earlier in the season.
Yeah, And I mean, you mentioned the Chiefs O-line. The Bills defense was, everybody knows, was hurt beyond hurt, but I think there's a big difference in the test that's coming up for the Chiefs O-line too. So we can see what happens this week with that. So that'll be a good focal point.
I saw some noise that like the Bills were asking their DNs to like play some different. I don't know if they're asking the two gap or exactly what it was, but yeah, like trying to help them take some pressure off their linebackers and all this sort of stuff. And it seems like none of it was really quite working. I didn't go back and watch on film, but just kind of doing all that. Dave, do you have any thoughts on like how that game went, or what might have been the difference, or is the Chiefs O-line actually bad?
Yeah, I was having a microphone problem, so I just switched to my phone. I got tons of thoughts.
Yeah.
I think first of all, the Chiefs O-line, I think they are a very good offensive line. The problem is that the Bills' defensive line this year, to me, was so, I think, severely underrated.
Really?
I think
with Von Miller.
Actually, without Von Miller, I think all the pieces around Von Miller made them that they were a little bit underrated.
Right.
You take Ed Oliver. I mean, Jordan Phillips didn't play this game, but AJ Epineza finally came back. You have this carousel of names that come in and week in, week out do the job that they need to do. I think the group that gets kind of the most attention on the Bills defense is the secondary, because they are always questionable as who's going to be in, who's going to be out. But that D-line shows up and just puts in work day in, day out. And I think they were able to find ways to penetrate early against the KC offensive line. Just unfortunately for them, Patrick Mahomes is, I hate to say it, he's that guy. He's just, just really good. Nobody finds ways to escape pressure like that guy, except for maybe one person. And it's going to be interesting seeing those two play each other this week between him and Lamar Jackson. So I think at the beginning, the Kansas City struggles in the game, especially they're struggling with the run. It has to come with the Bills' offensive line just doing their job and finding ways to plug gaps. And the two linebackers on the field that, for some reason, we didn't want to play with more than two linebackers at all this week, did a really good job of stepping up in the run game. Then they struggled in the pass, obviously. And the commentators made notes of it all game and all week. Your down linebackers and the middle of the field is going to be wide open. AJ Klein is not the best coverage linebacker in the world. He is a great plug and play guy, but he doesn't have the top end speed to keep up with people dragging across the middle, or just the athleticism to match up with Travis Kelce. So yeah, I mean, being down to our last few linebackers hurt us in the pass game, but then when we made the adjustment to fix that piece, we stopped putting the pressure on the run game, and that's when Pacheco and Mahomes had that big, 35-yard scramble of his.
Oh, right up the sideline, yeah.
Right up the sideline. That's when we stopped. And when we stopped putting on the pressure with the linebackers in the run game, that's when they were able to start knifing us. And then I think McDermott just, he did what McDermott does when he gets under pressure, and he panicked, and he, kind of forgot how to call a tangible defense.
Dave, speaking of McDermott and panicking, what are your thoughts on going for that punt fake as opposed to just having Josh Allen out there trying to pick up the 5 yards or whatever it was?
I think if you were going to fire Sean McDermott over anything, it's that one call. And it's not necessarily that he called the fake punt. It's the personnel he had out there when he called the fake punt. I saw somebody this week refer to it as the Make-A-Wish play.
I saw that earlier today.
Yeah. Who in God's name thinks that it's a good idea to have DeMar Hamlin run a fake punt? If you need a yard, maybe. But it was what? 4th and 3? 4th and 4?
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a haul to get there, and he's, I think, maybe a $180 soaking wet going up against the front 8 of Kansas City. So, who, by the way, if their special teams coordinator was worth his salt in anything, would have been rushing everybody to begin with, because he would have noticed that over the past 3 or 4 games, the Bills' punt blocking is awful. Between the close calls of blocked punts and the roughing the passer or the roughing the kicker that we were able to grab a couple weeks ago, because somebody just came right in and basically jumped on Sam Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Sam Martin. Past couple weeks, between getting annihilated by, I think it was the Dolphins, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Somebody just jumped into him. Between getting annihilated by a Dolphins player and then blowing his hamstring out on national TV.
And playing through it, by the way. Like, playing through the hamstring. And still kicking great punts while with his hamstring all kinds of destroyed.
Yeah. So, yeah, the fake punt did not impress me at all. Neither did I'm going to be honest, neither did the play calling of Joe Brady. I said this the last time that I was on, and I'll say it again. I am not 100% sold on Joe Brady. I think
fair.
He did a good job of doing exactly what I said, of reinstating the run game, and I think the Bills finished the season top 3 in rush yards, at least for those 6 weeks. And then we did a really good job of establishing the run against KC, and then all of a sudden, bam, we stopped running the ball at halftime. Or we stopped running the ball effectively at halftime. And we would get into these stints where there would be no rhyme or reason to what personnel Brady was putting on the field. You have a jumbo.
That 6 tackle, that swing tackle stuff they've been doing so much of the last few weeks.
And that's great. That's awesome. But if you're going to do it consistently, and then use it to set up something. Don't run that jumbo set with the swing tackle, and then get 8 yards, and then the very next play, all of a sudden, bring out all 5 receivers and go 5 wide.
Yeah, baffling.
Where Shanahan in San Francisco and even Miami, where they've mastered this art of using the run game to set up the pass game. Buffalo still seems to struggle with the identity of, we can run the ball or we can pass the ball, but we can't intermingle the two. We can't run the ball to set up play action for big gains downfield.
Buffalo's idea of intermingling those two is run plays out of shotgun. That's what they think that is.
or running Josh Allen.
Yeah, that too.
It almost feels like their ideas, instead of like marrying them and having them build off each other, it's like, well, one's working, let's keep doing it, and well, it's not working, let's go to the other one. It's like, I feel like offense is more sophisticated.
They are so easily telegraphed at this point. When they run out of shotgun, they do the same thing every time. Josh Allen motions James Cook, or at least flips him to the other side of the formation, and then just quick snap handoff. It's the same play every time. And if I'm a defensive coordinator, if I'm Steve Spagnuolo, I'm telling my linebackers, the second you see him flip to the other side of Josh Allen, you're blitzing the opposite side of James Cook, and you are just killing everybody in your path. And eventually that's what happened in the second half. So I think Joe Brady has the potential to be really good, but I think there are still pieces of Ken Dorsey kind of lingering within his system, and he needs to kind of establish his own identity, which I really do believe the last 6 weeks he was doing a good job of establishing his own, what he wanted to do, but there was still those pieces of, I've got Josh Allen, he's got an absolute bazooka for an arm. Let's put all our receivers on the field and see what he can do with it. But then you're down to where you have you're 5 wide. You don't even have your best pass catching tight end on the field. I love Dawson Knox, but taking Dalton Kincaid off the field at any point in time is absolutely ridiculous. And then you have Stephon Diggs, you have Khalil Shakir, and then you have 2 guys who, until this week, I'd never even heard their names. Mm-hmm. Which poor Sheffield, if this was his tryout game, I'd fire him on the spot with that one ball that was right into his hands.
Oh yeah, yep. Yeah. There's a few of those. It's tough too. Everyone wants to say, oh, can Josh Allen do it? It's like Josh Allen was doing it. He just didn't have a whole lot of help from the play calling or his receivers just straight up dropping what I would consider dimes down the field.
Yeah, there was the Diggs one at the end, and
yeah, there was one take that I heard this week that I absolutely agree with, and it really attests to the character of Josh Allen. And that was, if I was Josh Allen, I would have been right in Stephon Diggs' face at the end of the game, screaming and waving my arms up and down and just yelling at him while he's sitting dejected on the bench.
Like he does.
Yeah.
Exactly like he did in Cincinnati last year, but he didn't do that. But now Diggs is all humble and, I'm not going anywhere. I love this team. I love this program.
Oh.
Yeah, right.
Nice of him.
Yeah, when it's his fault, and he knows his options are a little limited.
Yeah. So. Funny how that works.
Yeah. I mean, people worry about what Buffalo's going to be without Diggs, and I mean, they've been without Diggs for the last 7 games. He hasn't crested 100 yards. He's kind of been just a guy. So.
Yeah. And can like I said, something was wrong with my microphone earlier, so I couldn't add this in. But when talking about the 49ers, the 49ers proved that, and I this is the reason why I think the 49ers are going to go to the Super Bowl and why the Bills can never get to the Super Bowl, and that is they figured out how to come from behind. Yeah. They figured out, the 49ers of years past, Shanahan's system didn't allow for it. But now that system's evolved to where they are setting up the play action and setting up the really actually effective pass plays and being able to get downfield and score the game-winning points. Versus Josh Allen and the Bills, we saw the end of the Chiefs game there, driving down the field, dinking and dunking his way, getting first down after first down after first down. Then all of a sudden we get to the red zone, we get to the 20-yard line, and everything has to go to the end zone for some reason. When there's still 2.5 minutes left and you have 2 timeouts left, why is everything all of a sudden you need the urgency to go score? Especially with who you're playing against and how explosive they can be.
Sure, yeah. And
how explosive they had been all game. The Bills didn't have one. No, I take that back. If you look at explosive plays measuring 20 yards or more, even 15 yards or more, KC blew Buffalo out of the water.
Yeah.
Statistically in that. Why would you not continue to just dink and dime and run the ball and get as much yardage and wind as much clock down before you set up Tyler Bass for his Scott Norwood moment?
Yeah, and you mentioned taking shots to the end zone from that position. The Chiefs were defending for those things, and there were there were opportunities underneath to just even just get a few more yards, if not the first down. Like
exactly, they're playing almost nickel coverage where all five defensive backs are in the end zone. Why are you automatically aiming for the end zone when they're all right there? Yeah. So that's why I truly believe in my lifetime the Bills will never get to a Super Bowl because they don't do the simple things. Either that or we're cursed.
The new stadium will fix it all.
My new theory is that Nicole Brown Simpson is cursing us from beyond the grave. But
not until OJ comes off the wall will the Bills make it to. That's what we can we get OJ off the Ring of Honor? He's still up there. Maybe they'll just like when they put up the new stadium, they'll just leave that part untouched. Like they'll start the Ring of Honor over. It's like, oh well, the other one's like in a safe somewhere.
Or something. Yeah. I'll put the full name
up
there.
Oh, we couldn't fit Orenthal up there. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, OJ, of course that's you. Obviously, Simpson. Everybody knows it's Simpson. We don't have to hang that up. I wonder how much of that I don't call it inexperience or what Buffalo was doing on offense, or their just confusion, I guess, or inability to do what makes sense to us. Like, is that just like Joe Brady panicking? Like, I wonder if more experience, like, is he gonna look back and say, okay, yeah, I fucked that up. Next year, I'm not gonna do that. Like, hopefully, these guys are gonna learn, or is it just that? Yeah, just doomed to repeat it forever and keep cycling through coaches, and it's.
Well, you see, this is where you have to actually wonder, and I'll actually defend Joe Brady on this. How much of this is the play that's getting called down versus Josh Allen changing it at the line?
Sure. True. We may never know, really.
I did see an article. I didn't read the whole thing, but an article today that from Brandon Beane saying that, like, that Joe and Josh are building this relationship because Joe is calling the plays up top. He's the coordinator, coach, but Josh is the coordinator on the field. So I think marrying those two is going to be something important if Joe Brady stays. Like,
right,
there's got to be that fine line of, it's like Rodgers with the Packers. Is Rodgers calling these plays or is LaFleur? You got to figure that out and get on the same page, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Yeah, I mean, part of me wants to say, oh, we'll give Joe Brady a fair shake, but the other part of me is like, Joe Brady is from that same Dable Dorsey like system, right? Like, no offense to Joe Brady, but maybe it's time to try something completely new, right? Maybe go out and bring in Cliff Kingsbury, who everyone seems to be interviewing right now. Try something different, because what you've been doing for the last 5 years clearly isn't it. You've got the talent to do so much more. So I'd like to see them maybe even make a change at that, regardless of what happens to McDermott.
I think you need to go the complete opposite direction of Cliff Kingsbury.
That was just an example I threw out there, but
the air raid is not what Buffalo needs.
You don't want more crossing routes? What are you talking about?
That puts way too much decision making into Josh Allen's hands, and I love Josh Allen. I will defend that man to the death. But my Lanta, his decision making skills are just. He's done 3 commercials with Peppa Pig. I think 1 commercial at this point would have been fine.
Oh my god!
So we gotta get him better sponsors, new coordinator. Or we're just getting rid of Josh Allen altogether and getting someone smarter on there.
Yeah.
I didn't say that. I didn't say get rid of Josh. I just said
trade you Brock Purdy right now for Josh.
I'm talking on the sponsor deals. I'm not talking on the field. We don't care about
there you go. I'll say just tighten the leash a little bit, or make Stephon Diggs go start doing all those commercials, and let Josh just be Josh.
Yeah, like I said, regardless of Cliff Kingsbury, I don't know that that's an actual fit for Buffalo, but like I said, just something else.
Well, he might be off the market soon anyway. The kind of all the smart money seems like he might be going to Philadelphia.
Really?
I've seen that or the Steelers, so Pennsylvania bound either way.
Really? I know the Raiders interviewed him. I don't know how that went or whatnot, but
I don't know if I'm him, I'd pick Jalen Hurts over.
I'm not touching her. No Connell.
any
Yeah.
of the 3 quarterbacks.
I just think with all that Sirianni, Fangio, whatever the hell is happening in Philly, I'd be a little scared of that. But he believes.
Did Philly get rid of their offensive coordinator?
Both offensive and defensive coordinators.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Miami got rid of the defensive coordinator today too.
Yeah, Miami got rid of Fangio. So
yeah, Fangio's gone and probably going back to Philly. It sounds like, or everyone expects. He's gotten Callahan got hired today. Brian Callahan.
Yeah, Ravens offensive coordinator. Yeah, or not Ravens. Bengals.
Bengals. I just know him because I assume he's Bill Callahan's kid.
The big one that I saw just before we started this, Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's what I'm wondering if Jim Harbaugh calls up Fangio and says, "Come on over, let's do it again."
I saw that rumor today too.
I mean, I'm sure they called. I'm sure they've talked. I hope they don't because that division's hard enough already.
I'm excited for more Jim Harbaugh. I miss him. He's so fun to watch, and I mean, he was 44-19-1 in 4 years with the Niners, which is really good. And we were absolute dog water before he came in, and he immediately made us playoff contenders. So I imagine coming in with the roster that the Chargers have, he's going to have immediate success.
I'd be interested to see how much they're paying him. Because
Spanos is cheap.
Turning down what, $69 million at Michigan? Is that how much he turned down?
Damn. For like what, 5 years?
Something like that, but
that's crazy.
That's just Harbaugh, man. He is kind of crazy, right? He needs to climb the mountain. He's an ultra competitor. I love it.
No, he's a good coach, and he cracks me up. I'm sure he's going to be the face of the league in no time, just with his memes and Twitter nonsense, clips of him being silly on Twitter, I should say. But yeah, I'm not thrilled he's in the division. That I don't know. I liked him at Michigan better.
If you had a shot to get Harbaugh for the Raiders, would you have gone for it over Pierce?
Most years, yes, and there's a lot of noise about that. As soon as the McDaniels stuff started going down, like he was the first thing that popped up. I think at this point, though, it makes sense just to keep the guy that the players like. That's probably more important than anything else. But
sure.
Yeah, if we go back a year from now and the Harps was coming in, I'd be pretty happy.
I just got to ask what makes Harbaugh so special, though?
It's funny.
Besides that.
I mean, he's from just my experience from 12 years ago. He's very good at getting the most out of his players, right? Like Alex Smith's career was over. Then Harbaugh comes in and Alex Smith plays for another 8 years and gets paid. Like that's pretty impressive. And outside of Alex Smith, like he is a player's coach of sorts, right? Like players like Harbaugh, they play well for him. So I think that's kind of his biggest skill set. He's not like one of these like Shanahan or like one of these one side of the ball guru kind of guys. He's very much like a head coach, right? He's one that he's the kind of guy that players rally around and play for.
CEO.
So, yeah, which is what you want in a good head coach a lot of times, right? Think of like guys like Tomlin. Now he's technically a defensive guy, but he's just a guy that he gets players to rally. So
he's also really good at sign language.
Yeah. One of the best.
Yeah. I'm excited. I'm glad he's back in the NFL and happy to have him forward in NCAA doesn't deserve it. As far as news, that's kind of all I got notes-wise. It's a lot of coaching stuff. I wanted to shout out Pat Mack. I was watching some on Monday. They had Olsen on there. He had some good things to say. Reasonable, level-headed commentators. That makes me happy.
Wild.
Yeah. Better than Rogers going on there spouting whatever in the dark.
Whatever drug he's taken this week.
No more Rogers. Don't gotta worry about that.
Didn't they say that in like 2 days later? Whatever.
If he's available, I would gladly take him on this podcast, though. I'm just throwing
yeah. Does anybody know him? Call him up. Packers fan?
Hey, he apparently doesn't trust his people anymore, so.
He can trust us.
I think my peyote dealer knows him.
There you go. He's got the hookup. Should we get in some picks? Should we look ahead to the semis, conference championships?
Yeah, let's do it.
Two big ones. Sunday. Which one's first? I actually don't know.
AFC.
Yeah,
AFC.
KC at
We got
Baltimore. comes first.
Ravens, Chiefs. I don't even know which one I'd want to see first. Which one you'd save? I mean, Tom, I think I know the answer for you, but I don't know. It's a neutral.
So, well, before we get into it, I will say
Oh,
that,
you're right.
yeah, so me and John are very close. Close enough that I can only tie him with picks of this week in the Super Bowl. So to make it a little more interesting, we decided this week to blind pick, me and John at least. So we've made our picks already. We sent them to Carl earlier today to
Yes.
try to gamify a little bit, have a little fun, see if I can't climb back up.
Tom wants a piece of that action.
I
He
just
can-
love
he
making
knocks
it
the
interesting.
camp out.
Yeah.
I'm already out of it completely, so I'm whatever. But yeah, I have John's picks and Tom's picks. John not able to make it tonight, so that means we could probably do them mostly as normal. But yeah, I do have them officially on the record. No cheating. Good to go. And Tom, you had the spreads too for that. The Ravens game was like what, 3.5? I wanted to say.
Yeah, KC at Baltimore, Baltimore minus 3.5. Yep, we can start there.
Well, I will say John's pick was Baltimore.
Ooh, I like that because mine was KC.
Your reaction tells me something different.
Wow.
Yes. So why do you think KC?
Well, one, I was trying to gamify. I figured John would pick Baltimore, but I also, at the same time, I do think KC. I don't know that they're gonna win. I hope to God that they don't. I'm very much rooting against KC. They've just been too exposed this year as the NFL's darling, and that's a big reason I'm picking them too. Is because the NFL loves them. They want KC on TV all the time for a few reasons. But ultimately, I think KC has an underrated defense. Their defense is quite good. And KC is just kind of like Dave said, Mahomes is just kind of that guy. Like he's gonna find a way to stay in every game. I mean, even you look at the games that KC lost throughout the season, they weren't getting blown out by these teams, right? They didn't lose any blowout losses. They were all close, competitive games, regardless of their end result. So I think they're going to be able to cover this, and Baltimore might have to depend on good old Justin Tucker to seal this one late, but as they do very often. But hey, if KC gets blown out, I'm just hedging my bets on my personal happiness one way or the other.
That's smart. I can respect that. Dave, we usually throw our guests under the bus when picking these games. You got a thought on this one?
Under the bus or in front of the bus?
Yeah. Well, it starts with in front of, and you eventually end up under it, and switch out the back. By the time we're done, but yeah.
I'm going Baltimore all the way. Both as I want to see Patrick Mahomes try, and I don't think that Kansas City's defense matches up well with Baltimore's offense. I think the gap run scheme that Baltimore runs and just the multiple different ways they can run the ball. Kansas City's not very well equipped to handle that, in my opinion. And the sheer fact that the way they design plays that leaves Lamar Jackson so open to run the ball and get downfield.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh Allen did a decent job of moving the ball against Kansas City, and Jackson is just so much more mobile at this point than Josh Allen is. Where Josh Allen is kind of a Four Loko fueled tank running down the field. Jackson is actually, and I'm not trying to use the old adage of that's a running back right there. He's a good running back. No, he is a very mobile quarterback that knows what to do when he has the ball in his hand. And I don't think Kansas City is going to match up well against that. Baltimore's going to be able to control the clock, move the ball downfield, and Kansas City's going to have to rely on the big play, I think, the big explosive plays. And I think eventually that magic is going to wear off. That being said, I do need Kansas City to score a couple big plays, and I at least need Travis Kelce to score one big play just to see more of Jason Kelce on my TV screen.
Yeah, he was having a good time in Buffalo last week.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to have as good of a time in Baltimore. Those people down there are kind of stingy sometimes. And they're definitely not Bills Mafia, but...
No, I only made it to one game, but it was not the same, no.
Yeah. So, no, and you know what? I don't even know if Kansas City covers. I'm gonna put it that way. I think Baltimore is both going to win, and I think they're going to beat the spread.
Love it.
I like it. Bold. Jesse, you agree?
I mean, I agree, but there's two reasons. First, let's talk about the real one.
All right.
Todd Monken.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
What does he do? He just wins.
It's better than Greg Roman, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean that's if you look at what he's done the past 3 years, won 2 college national championships, and then comes to the Ravens and turns Lamar Jackson from Greg Roman Lamar to next level Monken Lamar. So I think that's going to happen. But the second reason is, it's scripted. You guys didn't know.
I did know about this.
So what is the script?
The colors. The colors say it's gotta be
the colors.
The Ravens. Yeah, you haven't heard about this, Tom?
What are the colors?
The colors of the Super Bowl logo.
Oh my God! I'm not having this.
The last, I think it's 3 or 4 years.
Last
Super
2
Bowl
years,
logo.
and now this year.
Yeah, and now this year. If it happens,
Yeah,
this
but
year.
I've seen that at least 9. I've seen 9 different variations of the colors this year.
So it's
at one point it was blue and red, and it was going to be the Bills and the 49ers. Now it's purple and red, and it's the Ravens and the 49ers. I mean, it could be the Chiefs and a Vikings coming from the grave. Who knows? But I agree, though. I believe it is scripted. But I think it's scripted in the Chiefs' favor, unfortunately.
Oh man, some of that news with the refs and the way they call games and all that, it doesn't look great. But no, I think for my pick, I agree with all you guys. Monken, I'm glad you brought that up. And really, just talking about Lamar and what he's been doing, like that team looks so scary because they have been throwing the ball well, and then when that stops working, they just start running it, and it just looks like old Lamar, looks like Roman Lamar. The fact that they can kind of bounce between those two modes is terrifying. I don't know how you can defend that. And that's kind of the only other point I got to bring up is their offense is very well documented, but on defense too, like that Ravens unit is playing well. They got another McDonald, I think, big coordinator name in there. And I was kind of just poking around their roster, PFF scores taken with a grain of salt, but their lowest scoring player on defense is ranked 50th out of 130.
Jeez.
Wow.
Their weakest point on defense is like top 40% in the league still. Which is insane. Yeah, most of those guys are like top 30, top 20 in their positions, just across the board, playing really well. Really, just not what Buffalo gave KC last week, I think. And so just kind of all that stuff, talking about playing with the lead and putting the Chiefs on their back foot, and their run game's kind of in their strength, and they're probably not going to be able to get to that much at all if that day. So I think Baltimore's looking real comfy. I almost want to agree with Dave and say they're going to win. Forget the spread. I'm not worried about it.
Oh yeah, I'm not worried about the spread either.
By a billion.
By $1 billion. Oh my goodness.
Only the Bills can win by $1 billion.
That's right.
They win by $1 billion or lose by 2.
That's it. Only 2 ways to do it.
Wide right. Tyler Bass.
Poor guy.
You had to say those words.
I did. I waited an hour. It's been a while. Tom, you got the big one. Bring us home.
All right.
7.5, was it?
Just 7 actually, no half.
7.
Detroit
Okay.
Detroit at San Fran -7.5. Yeah, this one I am going 49ers.
Shocking.
To beat the spread here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, obviously last week, close game, tight game, a little rough. It was raining, Packers were firing, on all cylinders coming out of the gate here. But, I think, while the rain certainly was a factor, I think the biggest factor was definitely, for the Niners anyways, just having to knock some of that rust off of not having played ball in 3 weeks. You know, outside of the guys who were nursing injury, everyone seemed to have to, kind of get back into the swing of things. So I think we're going to keep rolling coming into this next week, coming off of a close game, learned a lot about what we can do, what we're capable of, and not taking anything for granted going forward. I think we'll be able to put the pedal to the metal on this one, and sorry Detroit to end the Cinderella story. You had a great year, but this one's San Fran because the logo says so. So that's just how it's got to be. Yeah, Detroit. I did have some notes on this game too, a little more serious, and some fun facts to go along with
Heck
it.
yeah.
So it's been 66 years since the Lions won a playoff game on the road.
Goodness.
The last time they did that came in 1957, NFL championship game, or to advance the NFL championship game against the 49ers, believe it or not.
Hmm.
So it's been a while, but coming into this game, obviously Debo's injury status still kind of up in the air. Sounds like he's day to day. Doesn't seem like a season-ending any kind of thing, but that could be a factor. Our team's definitely different without him, but knowing he's not there all week, we'll be able to game plan a bit better with him not being there. So I'm not as worried about that. And Detroit's slogan has been Detroit against everyone lately through going through the playoffs. Not this week. Everyone's rooting for Detroit. So it's San Fran against everyone rooting for Detroit this week. So, uh, but just to get into some notes, Goff has been one of the worst QBs under pressure this season. That's been brought up throughout just about every game he's played, it seems like.
Yeah.
And guess who's one of the best pressure teams in the NFL? That would be the San Francisco 49ers.
We guys with Young and Bosa and Hargrave and
Oh yeah, Armstead's back and healthy, so
goodness.
yeah, that could spell absolute disaster for that red hot Detroit offense. So that and Detroit's secondary being a bit of a weakness, and the Niners have one of the biggest stable of pass catchers you could ask for. So I think we match up incredibly well, strength to weakness. Um, unless Detroit does what Green Bay does and lean on the run game to pick up the big yards you need. So we'll see how that all plays out. But yeah, give me San Fran beating the spread.
Right on. Dave, how you feeling about this one?
I agree with Tom. I think San Francisco is going to win and beat the spread. I think they're too offensively strong against the Detroit defense, especially their secondary, like Tom said. I also am concerned that Jared Goff is just not good.
He's had a
funny arc, yeah.
Yeah,
Jared Goof, as we've been calling him since he got drafted.
Yeah, and if the fan in me wants to see Detroit win, I think it would be a cool story, but I think the Super Bowl would be a better game if it was Baltimore and San Francisco. Again, just the practical part of me says San Francisco just too good on all levels, versus Detroit, has some glaring holes in their, secondary and quarterback play and sometimes decision making. Dan Campbell's bite him at the knees approach. Sometimes can be a little too aggressive, for a style of play. But yeah, give me San Francisco, and I also believe that they will cover the spread.
All right, Jesse.
I mean, if anybody knows me or talked to me in the last week and a half, I guess at this point, since it was Packers-Niners, I said whoever wins that Packers-Niners game is going to the Super Bowl.
Ooh.
I hold steadfast on that. I think that was the I don't want to say the real NFC Championship game because I still think it's going to be a game, but I think those two teams outclass the other ones that are left there. So Lions, I like to see them actually be successful. It's good. It's been a long time, but I think the Niners are just too strong.
Yeah, it's seems pretty easy to say because I'm right there with you guys. It feels like a win-win to me at least. It's kind of like the better team wins or like the scrappy underdog, exciting storyline wins. I think I prefer that leading into Super Bowl week, 2 weeks of like, oh, I'll get to know this team and blah, 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 at least to be someone new and different and fun. But we can't have that, get San Fran back in there. It's better than nothing. Definitely rooting for my boy and his team. So, yeah, I think end of the day, San Fran's going to keep it rolling, I think. Pretty easy game for them, but I don't know. Maybe they'll surprise. Maybe Detroit will keep it interesting.
What I gotta know? What did John pick?
Yeah, John, and you both ultimate gamesmen. So John has the Lions as well.
Oh, let's go!
Yeah.
The dream's alive.
The dream is alive. Resting in the hands of the Chiefs and the Swifties. I don't know how I feel about that, but for you anyway. But yeah.
Now, do you guys believe that the Lions will give in to fans' requests if they win and sign Barry Sanders to a 1-game deal to let him run one play so he can win a Super Bowl ring?
Let him take the kneel down at the end.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
I'd be all for that.
I mean, I feel like hear me out. Say the Lions win the Super Bowl, they could just give Barry a ring if he wanted. Like, he didn't have to be on the team. Like, he wouldn't have felt like he earned it any more or less in that regard.
Dan Campbell wants him to run the ball. He's gonna fire him up enough to run through a brick wall for him.
That'd be fucking hilarious. I'd support that 1,000,000 times.
It's been like 100 years since somebody died playing football, but here we are.
Hey, we almost had it a couple years ago.
Do you want to do that again? I don't know. I think when we play and everyone lives.
Hey, one guy came back from the dead and then ran the worst big punt in NFL history.
Yeah. You were talking about that. I say, who called that? It was like the writers, probably.
Yeah.
Imagine if you got it,
Solidify that comeback player of the year.
Yeah, there you go. He's got a bonus in there. I think that's all I had for today. Trivia. I'm on the road, so I literally have no notes. So I don't remember what we had last week.
Yeah, I got it. I got it right here.
Oh, what?
And Jesse and Dave had a chance to play along. So the question was, because we were looking at the score of the Packers and Cowboys game, which ended up being fairly high. I think it was like 80-something. The question was, what was the score of the highest scoring playoff game, either total or the score itself?
That's right. Thank you, Tom.
And John had 45 to 47, so 92 points. And Carl went 52 to 59, swinging big with 101.
So I know the 48 points by the Packers was the most in franchise history.
That's right.
So that says a lot. It means it's not the most in NFL history. You gotta have at least a 50-pointer.
And I'm talking about cumulative score here too. So,
yeah, cumulative score. So I mean, I want to say I'm gonna say. Ooh. I'm gonna say it was a 51 to 42. What was that, 93? Quick math.
51-42. Yeah, we know how to do math. Yeah, 93. All right, Dave, you care to venture a guess?
I don't remember the score.
Oh, do you know the game? That would be just equally
I
impressive.
remember the game.
Oh.
I believe. I believe it was the Green Bay Packers. And was it the Arizona Cardinals?
Oh, damn.
Well, Dave hit it right on the nose.
Fuck.
That was the game from the 2009 playoffs.
Holy shit.
Arizona Cardinals, Green Bay
Palmer
Packers.
Cardinals?
Jesse's score was very close.
Yeah. Now that I thought about that, yeah. Thanks, Tom. I got the winning team score right.
Did you want to venture a guess on score, Dave?
Well, I just gave you a hint.
How you said Green Bay had 48?
I didn't say anything.
No, I thought, didn't Jamie say 48?
Yeah.
It's
That's not what he said.
I'll put 85. I know that. I don't know. Let's go 90. Let's go 91. I don't even know what two numbers could combine to get that, but 90. Let's go 91 points.
All right,
91.
so it was 96 points. Arizona Cardinals 51, Green Bay Packers 45.
Good God.
Yeah, the game ended in OT, as you would expect, but just an absolute shootout between Kurt Warner and Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, it's Kurt Warner. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
One of his last years.
Well, Carson Palmer had a game like that too, though, didn't he?
He did.
That's what I was thinking,
The
yeah.
score wasn't quite that high, but it did get up there.
That was
It
a
was-
few years later.
Yeah.
Wasn't it him and was it
That game
was
had
it against
everything.
the Bengals?
No, that one was against the Packers as well.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers
that
threw
was
like
Cardinals-
two
Cardinals
Hail
Packers.
Marys to
Yeah.
get the game to overtime, and then Larry Fitzgerald, just being a legend, ends up winning it all like in the first drive.
You know where I was for that game? I mean, this is more of a fun fact for Tom and Tom. I was at Anthony's house at in Anthony Land
Oh, jeez.
when he was. That's when he left to move to North Carolina for working at Epic.
Jeez.
Cool. Papa A-Train's house.
Yep.
Nice.
Cow.
So, do we have trivia for this week from your deck?
I was gonna
of
say, I brought
trivia there?
nothing.
I looked through a lot of it. A lot of it's really stuff. But I
Is it
did
bad?
find one that I thought was interesting, at least.
Let's do it.
I didn't know this, so I don't know if you guys would. There's two. So we'll throw out. They're both pretty short, so we'll throw them out there. We'll throw them both out there. So for the first one, the question is: the NFL owns the licensing rights to every team except one. Which team is it?
It's not Dallas?
Interesting.
I mean,
Well,
you
that
guys
can't be
don't
right.
want me to.
I gotta-
We hold this for next week, right? Like
Right.
the answers for
Yeah.
this. Okay.
All right, I'm going in first and saying Dallas because I have no idea who the fuck else it would be. So good luck, everybody.
I
You can say Dallas.
can't be Dallas. I don't think it's Dallas. It's gotta be something like the Packers because of their weird owner thing. That's my guess.
I'm gonna say Chicago. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
old school and say Chicago.
Not a bad thought.
Yeah, those
Hey.
are all good thoughts.
Chicago, Dallas. You said two, or is that the one?
That's one. I do have two. I want to do the other one too because I never even thought about this before. Maybe
Okay.
you guys have because you're more football nerds than me.
We're all
But how
casuals.
many yards wide is the standard football field?
53 and a third.
God damn it! All right, scrap that one. We
Never
only got
mind.
one question here, boys.
Now can you divide it out, and how wide is it from hash to sideline
From
and
hash to
hash
the
to
number. I knew you were gonna do that. Freaking. Is it 6 yards? I don't remember.
Yeah, that's all I got. That's most of these are pretty easy things that anybody would get on the first one, but
All right, so yeah, we got Chicago, Green Bay, and Dallas. So
yeah, we'll say.
Hopefully we have you on next week. If you're working or something, we'll figure out how to let everybody know. But
listen to the podcast. That's all you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun hanging out. Appreciate everyone listening. Hope you guys enjoy the conference championships coming up. And I'm sure we'll catch you guys all next week.
See ya.
Esports.
See ya.